I'm here with Nick Molenda, and he is the current drummer in HARPS and has done various gigs. And you're from the Pacific Northwest, from Seattle. Is that where you were born?
I was born in Olympia, Washington, but I currently live in Seattle, Washington, and have been there for the last little over a decade.
So what's your history as far as doing music professionally? What have you done, or what's noteworthy? Some bullet points.
In
the most humble way ever.
The most humble way ever. Not a problem. I played drum set throughout high school. Didn't really play any gigs then, though. I mean, that was pretty much just a really small high school band program that had almost nothing going on, and drum set lessons. Before that, my dad was a drummer, so he would kind of show me some things there. I was exposed to it at a really young age. I think when I was like 2, my dad kind of was getting back into drumming, and so we went to the music store in Olympia called Music 6000. Great store, by the way. And bought a drum kit, and so from then on it was like, I had drums in my life from 2 to whatever. So of course, when it's 5th grade and that rolls around, I knew that I was going to play drums. There was never a question about it. So it was a passion, really from almost since day one. And so after high school, I decided to go to a university. So I went to the best school in the state that I could, University of Washington. I still, I didn't really want to leave home, so to speak. So that's why I only moved about an hour north of where I was in Olympia, and just kind of went to the place that made the most sense. And I have to thank my parents for allowing me to go there, because that was, financially not the easiest thing. But went to school there, majored in music performance, jazz studies on drum set. I was there for the next 5 years, and every year there was a big change that happened. Ended up marching drum corps in the middle of that time. Had a lot of good experience with some notable teachers along the way. Went to numerous drum clinics, master classes, and things like that. Professionally, I want to say, I really actually started playing a decent amount of gigs when I was at UW, and then afterwards, I got into teaching drumline quite a bit, and also playing with several different artists. And I don't know, I don't really want to name drop.
Yeah. So till that time in college, no drum corps experience? Like, not in high school, didn't march in high school?
My high school, like I said, it was a small program. We had no marching band. There was no drum line. There was anything like that. Really, it was like, you had football games at a single A high school, and it was we'd carry the drum set out over our heads to the stadium and play drum set with like a 7-piece pep band. It was really pretty small, I think, for most people's standards. But I got a drum solo at every game, so that was fun, and I dug it.
And so, is the UW, University of Washington, known for its music program, or you said it was expensive, so
it's the UW. It's, as a university, it's kind of seen as like what do they call it, like a public Ivy, you know what I mean? And it's so in the Pacific Northwest, it's kind of seen as the biggest sort of state school there is, and academically, it's got the highest standards. As far as a music school goes, I don't know if it's necessarily, super well renowned outside of really maybe that region. But to me at the time, again, coming from a single A high school, graduating class of like 58 people, I thought it made the most sense to me because it was in Seattle. Seattle's, I think, got probably the most eclectic music scene in the Pacific Northwest. Because the school was in that city, that made sense. It was kind of like, it was almost to the extent that where it's like, well, okay, I don't really care who teaches there. I'm sure there was great people that taught there, but the fact its proximity to Seattle just made the most sense. So, from a professional standpoint. So,
what sparked the idea for a YouTube channel? Because I had an interview before this, and a guy said that he really didn't want to see anybody doing covers.
Yeah.
And I think he was referring to the fact of people like acoustic guitar,
right,
and singing,
right.
And there is a lot of people. If you put in a name of a song and type in drum cover, you'll find it. So tell me about your YouTube channel. What you want to.
Well, I mean, if you want to get back to like the actual roots of it, the YouTube channel just kind of started. I think I had one pretty soon after YouTube started, like in 2007 and 2008. But at that time, all I was really uploading was just kind of whatever I wanted, which is what people did there because the video quality wasn't that good. It wasn't really, people didn't really know what it was yet. So, it was just, I'd upload whatever. I'd upload videos of drum corps lines that I marched in, and maybe some other older lines that I had some rare videos of, some rare footage of that I wanted people to be able to see or whatever. So I did that, but I got the idea once I started seeing more and more of these drummers come up with these drum cover channels, like when drum cover kind of became a thing, like you were talking about. But when I was thinking about doing it, in my opinion, I think like your friend, it was kind of like I thought most of the people doing the drum covers were, I felt it could have been done better. And so when I thought about what I wanted to do, it was like, well, a big part of my studies at UW was doing transcriptions and things like that, and copying the masters, and because the thought is, it's kind of a two schools of thought when it comes to that. There's the, you're going to get a lot out of learning what these guys played, and then there's the, well, you got to develop your own style, and people will fight wars over that. Obviously, I think where my opinion is, but to me, it really all has to do with, I can play the drum set part to 7 days, the Vinnie Colaiuta thing, for every day until I die, and I'll never sound like Vinnie Colaiuta. I'll sound like Nick Molenda trying to play 7 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it just does a lot for my playing on a technical level. It does a lot for my thinking, coming up with parts that sound good, that make sense, that flow. Definitely the Aaron Spears thing was huge because that took me like a good 7 months to get together. It made me a better player, and I'm a whole lot better at playing across the bar line.
I think it's amazing you said that it took you 7 months to get the Aaron Spears thing together.
Yeah.
Because in my head, and I'm sure everybody else is, you just sat down and maybe ran through the song a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You get that with some of the other videos where you're saying that you have a series on your YouTube called Note for Note.
Right.
And you basically mentioned you transcribed in college, and that you sat down and you transcribed this, and then you memorized the song.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take it to heart. So you've transcribed it, you figured out what the person's playing, then you learn it and you memorized it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an element on YouTube of people don't know the work that goes into the videos. It's like they see a finished video and they figure, oh, that person just sat down and was just. Yeah,
and I mean that's.
I'm glad you're flushing that out in your videos because.
No, yeah, I mean it's kind of like there's a lot of different reasons that I did it, and for me it was kind of a way to, I think, number one, make myself a better player. Two, share something else like with everybody else. 3, get my name out there a little bit. Like the name recognition, I think is huge, and YouTube is a really powerful tool for that anybody can use. Like, that's one of the biggest ways that the music industry is changing nowadays, is that the distribution factor. You can get your stuff out there and get it seen fairly easy, but the quality needs to be there. So I just tried to produce the highest quality stuff that I could, and the best that I could do it. And so I think it was worthwhile, because people are looking at that thing constantly and singing the praises and subscribing to the channel. It's like I started out with like almost no subscribers, and now there's over 1,400, and I'm getting more by the day. And so it's like, and what does that really mean? I don't know, but it's something. And so I guess that was sort of the plan when I decided to start doing the YouTube thing. But I knew it would take a while, but it just seemed like a kind of a good idea with the way that things were developing with the music industry, and having something like that would probably be of great benefit.
So you saying you knew it would take a while. Just kind of shed some light and kind of pull back the curtain. How long have you been recording videos and doing these kind of maybe drum covers, or sharing, hey, this is this lick, or
Well, I think the first video that I ever really put up there that was like a drum, like a drum transcription or whatever, was the Vinnie Colaiuta one. And I put that up June of 2011, I think. So pretty much like 2 years ago. So it's taken that long to get this far. I've gone from like basically no subscribers to 1,400 in 2 years, and it's pretty consistent with like a lot of the other people, because there's a lot of other people doing this thing. Some people that are way more dedicated to it than I am, and I every once in a while I would just message them, and some of them don't respond, some of them do, but usually the ones that would, I would just be like, man, how long did it take you to get this much? He's like, I started this in 2010, and now I've got this. And so it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
A friend of mine is on YouTube, and he said that it's lost kind of its community. Do you message people, and you said that some of them respond? Do you think there's community there amongst people, drummers, musicians? Is there any community?
I think there definitely is, but it's kind of the same as any other business. It's like you're not going to email the CEO of whatever company and expect to get a response. Sometimes you will, but you know what I mean? Just because of the way that people's lives work and everything that they have going on, it's kind of like, if you're able to, I guess, craft a message that will tend to get a response versus one that won't, because you look at any of these comments, and it's kind of like you see a lot of people, oh, that was awesome, what I mean, just things like that, and so it's like that happens all the time, and you'd be surprised. Like, there's a lot of messages that I get where I just kind of read it, and then I don't have time to look at it, but every once in a while somebody puts some something that's actually got some real thought into it, and so I always make sure to try to respond to those.